What's up guys, welcome to my video game oriented side channel where all of my game theories, news, and reviews are going to go. Well, unless they're Star Wars related, in which case those will go over to my main channel, Fulcrum HQ. Getting right into it, today we are going to be going over that amazing and utterly surprising Breath of the Wild sequel trailer. Now I know a lot of people are doing shot-by-shot analysis of the trailer, but we are going to focus more on putting those events into an order, because it's obvious upon watching this that Nintendo constructed this more for the presentation and less about sequential events. In the process, I'll also be talking about my theories along the way, and of course asking you guys for your opinions on the matter as well. In the end, I will play the final product. First, I think we should play the trailer once, all the way through, just in its current state of order to see what we're working with. This game is definitely going to be the Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time for Breath of the Wild. Its overall vibe is just significantly creepier than anything we've seen in a long time with Zelda. Creepy Skeletor dude coming back to life aside, the music is just straight haunting. Backwards, forwards, however you play it, it is unsettling. For Nintendo to show us this as their first preview of the game makes me think that this has to be indicative of a tonal shift. They do not want you to be fooled into thinking that just because it shares what appears to be the same specs as Breath of the Wild, that this is not by any measure going to be a peaceful piano-themed kind of game. I could not be more excited. As you can see, it sort of crescendos into the flash of different scenes. They go slow and steady at first, but then it just explodes into compilation sequence. It's really well edited to give you this horror movie teaser feel, but none of this is in an exact order of which happens. We've got some decent puzzle pieces here though, and I think we can meld together a decent story for how this game starts. Which yes, I do believe this sequence of events will be the opening of some sort. There may be gameplay strung in between as well as a sequence even before this, but I do think this is going to get us kickstarted onto our adventure. This is in no way based on the trailer yet, but in the beginning I would love a nod to the first game with just hearing Zelda's voice coaxing Link to wake up. Only in this game, she's not just in spirit but right next to him, trying to urge him to get a move on so they can continue their descent into this cavern-like structure a million miles below the surface. Maybe he was having a nightmare or something that's going to be a metaphor for whatever journey we're about to embark on. Maybe we'll even see these squirmy little green things in Link's dream. So the real first event that I think is happening is just Link and Zelda traversing through this underground ruin, which is presumably miles beneath Hyrule Castle. It seems like their goal is to go lower and lower, so their descent down the stairs and across the bridge might be a little earlier in their journey, ending with them grabbing some water, since one could assume a large water source like that would be at the bottom of a cavern. I should point out that they've got the big old rhino-elephant hybrid beast full of supplies, indicating that Link and Zelda have been through a long journey, and based on the writings on the wall, they're exploring something that's been here for quite a bit of time. Zelda is rocking a new haircut, which, while equally parts adorable, could also be an indicator of her role in the game, but more on that later. Link is wearing a nice combination of the Knight's Guard and Champion's garbs, so it's a wonder how long exactly they've been down here. They're probably going to have a conversation of some sort, or at least Zelda will talk out loud, before entering this very interesting looking cave/entryway. It's reminiscent of the old dungeon games from the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. This is where I think the glowing hand and the skeleton are actually positioned, as well as the writings on the wall. It would make sense, as the other walls that they walk by don't seem to have any markings on them. You'll also notice that so far there hasn't been a hint of the little flickers of malice yet. So yeah, I think everything goes down in that dungeon area. It's all cool and calm until they go through that entryway. Once they enter the cave, they see writing on the wall, and that's when I think we see Zelda gasping, because she recognizes something from the legend or realizes what this place is. She is still the scholar and researcher that we know and love, and is definitely the brains between the two of them. Not that Link is dumb, but he does look pretty perplexed by her revelation. If it was when they first lay eyes on the skeleton, as the trailer portrays, I doubt he'd be as curious about her reaction. Then, after what will probably be a little history lesson from Zelda, we'll really see it. I think we'll be getting every single angle of him when Zelda and Link stumble upon him before panning back to this shot of them looking over his remains. I'm sure there will be some story elements explaining why they're even down here looking, but right now it's safe to assume that this is Ganondorf, judging by the obvious secretion of Demise's malice, which we saw a heavy dose of in Breath of the Wild. He's also clearly Gerudo based on the jewelry, particularly the big glowing jewel on his head. When I first saw this trailer, I was like, why does he have one glowing eye like a Cyclops? Until I realized that's a jewel. The glowing hand, in my opinion, is holding all of the badness in. I know this could be kind of a glass half full / half empty viewpoint, but based on this trailer, everything is fine as long as the blue-green light is the majority and that hand is containing him. Once the red and orange hue becomes more intense and the hand leaves him, everything goes to hell. It's amazing how something as simple as color can be so indicative of change. My other point about the hand being good is that Link later gets semi-possessed by it, and I think it's going to be a tool in the game. I'll touch more on that when it actually comes up, though. There are obviously a lot of missing little bits here, but I don't think the fall is where they part ways, though I do think this hand is here to, well, lend a hand. Ganondorf obviously somehow fights back against this hand, which we see briefly in this flash of lightning. Note that the hand is no longer on him anymore to hold him in place, and we don't see any trace of the hand later when we look at Ganondorf. Malice starts to slowly and surely flicker into the air as we see against the floor with Zelda's feet. Ganondorf breaking the seal erupts a rumble in the cavern, which causes the ground to give out beneath Zelda. She falls straight down, and Link likely drops his torch to dive and reach his right hand out to grab her, but also slips and falls. It took me watching this in slow-mo to actually see, but this clip where the blue hand is grabbing Link's left hand is actually catching him from falling, thus giving Link the ability to reach down for Zelda. I don't think that's where Ganondorf is just yet. I think that she gets saved, because when she's reaching up, it's fairly not red in the cavern. After being rescued, presumably Zelda picks up Link's torch and looks at Ganondorf after seeing all of the malice. His fingers move ever so slightly, but our scientist doesn't have time to ponder this, because Link ends up absorbing the energy of the glowing hand in his own hand, which, as I said earlier, I think is going to kind of be the powers / the big tool and gimmick, for lack of a better term, of this game when playing as Link. What kind of powers it will have, I don't know, but maybe it will have sealing powers of Ganon later. Zelda probably then drops her torch and goes running towards him, but to no avail. That's where I think they get separated. Link is getting raised higher and higher. Zelda whips around at Ganondorf, fully rising, and we see this explosion of malice that pushes the castle and possibly Link upwards. There's a few different possibilities here, since clearly the castle is going somewhere. Why else would it just rise and stay there? Link goes with the castle as he is clearly high in the air, and we aren't sure what kind of powers this hand is going to give him. Zelda stays down below in the ruins of the castle, and Hyrule by extension. Ganondorf presumably is going to leave the cavern. What I'm getting at is I think we're going to have two locations to explore. Regular Hyrule is Zelda, and wherever we go with Link. It could be another dimension, it could be another land. It would be cool if instead one having to rescue the other, we're just trying to get them back together, back to each other, because ultimately wisdom and courage are needed to defeat power. Zelda having short hair just makes so much sense from a design and practicality standpoint. One of the reasons she wasn't playable in Breath of the Wild was her long hair would get in the way of rendering various alternative weapons behind her back. So they sliced off her hair and it looks very cute, but she is ready for battle as well? I hope so. I would also explain how or why you should start with the basic 3 hearts and no weapons when there are the same characters. I don't think Nintendo would just take Link out of the equation altogether, though, because while it is believable in this iteration that Zelda would absolutely saddle up and go on a quest to save Link, I think there's going to have to be new locations to explore. The tricky part is, how open world is this going to be? Just like Breath of the Wild, or is there going to be some level of structure that kind of maintains how the story is split and handled? There's a lot of questions as far as that. Could this be in the same vein as Pokemon Gold, where it contained both Kanto and Johto maps? In other words, the original Hyrule map with changes and different quests as well as the other world? Maybe this slate can be used as a communication device between Link and Zelda, and you can switch back and forth between the two of them. It's definitely a thought to be had. The other possibility is they aren't separated at all and they need to venture together off to wherever Ganon and the castle are going. Zelda could be used for specific functions, such as intricate use of the slate, while Link and his special new arm could do the brunt of battling. Zelda would be, of course, archery, though. I just don't see her getting kidnapped in this one. She doesn't have any powers anymore, according to herself, and I don't see what use this resurrected Ganondorf would have for her. What is going to be in place of the memory feature to fill in the story? I guess they could have cutscenes activated whenever specific regions are reached, Regardless, we have so many questions and so little answers. All of this is very well could be wrong. There's a lot of context to fill in here and a lot of gameplay curiosity as well. On one hand, I don't want them to waste the current map they've got, and on the other, I don't want them to just reuse everything because that could get boring. Here's the final product of the trailer though, guys. I hope you enjoyed and let me know how excited you are for Breath of the Wild 2 and what your thoughts are.
Open your eyes.